My name is Naomi Hart. I'm 28 years old, and for a long time I thought love was about endurance, about holding on through storms, swallowing doubts, convincing yourself that loyalty mattered more than pride, that if you really love someone, you didn't walk away just because things got messy. Turns out that kind of love only works when both people are playing the same game. I met Rachel 3 years ago at a networking event I didn't even want to attend. I work in IT, quiet, structured, behind the scenes. Social events aren't really my thing. I had every intention of skipping it, but a friend dragged me along, insisting it would be good for me. The place was buzzing, full of clinking glasses and clusters of people laughing too loudly about things that weren't really funny. I was scanning the exit, plotting my escape, when I heard her. Rachel. She had the kind of voice that carried across a room. Warm, magnetic, threaded with laughter that made people turn their heads. She wasn't just in the room, she owned it. She stood in the center like a flame, and everyone else revolved around her. Her hair fell carelessly over her shoulder, her gestures animated, her confidence effortless. I couldn't believe it when her eyes found mine. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't the kind of woman people like her usually noticed. But she walked over, smiled like she already knew me, and said, "You look like you're counting down the minutes until you can leave." I laughed, embarrassed. She wasn't wrong. We started talking, and to my surprise, it flowed easily. She said I was refreshing, that I actually listened instead of waiting for my turn to talk. She teased that I wasn't trying too hard, and somehow that was attractive. A few weeks later, we were dating, and before I knew it, I was in deep. Rachel was ambitious, restless in a way I admired and feared. She wanted more than her retail job, more than late nights folding clothes for managers who didn't know her name. She talked about building something, her own consultancy in social media marketing. I believed in her. I saw the fire in her eyes when she described her plans, and I wanted to fuel it, so I did. I helped her land her first marketing job, proofreading her resume, coaching her through interviews. When she wanted to quit her retail job and focus on something more meaningful, I carried us. I paid most of the rent, picked up the groceries, covered late-night food runs, and I didn't mind, not once. I told myself this is what love was, supporting the person you believe in, even if it means putting your own needs aside for a while. I thought we were building a life together, brick by brick, me providing the foundation while she designed the future. When she decided to take the leap into starting her consultancy, I was there too. I bought her domain, built her website, set up her SEO, taught myself things I'd never cared about just to make sure she had a running start. I didn't realize I was pouring myself into something that wasn't ours. It was hers. Her friends never really liked me. I noticed it early on, the way they side-eyed me, whispering things Rachel pretended not to hear. They were loud, glamorous, always ready with inside jokes about who was dating who, which guy had money, which girl had clout. And me? I was the stable one, the quiet one, the safe bet. They'd throw out little digs masked as jokes. Naomi's so reliable, she's basically a golden retriever. Or, don't worry, Rachel, she'll never leave you, even if you forget her birthday. Rachel laughed along. She never defended me, not once. I told myself it didn't matter, that what mattered was what we had in private, our late-night talks, the way she curled up against me when she was tired, the mornings when she'd whisper dreams she was too shy to say out loud to anyone else. But still, the laughter of her friends echoed louder than her quiet moments with me. Looking back, I see the foreshadowing. I remember one night when Rachel and I were cooking together. She was telling me about an influencer she admired, someone who had turned her whole life into a brand. "You know what makes her stand out?" Rachel asked, flipping vegetables in a pan like she was on a cooking show. "She's unpredictable. People can't look away. Safe is boring." Safe. The word stung. "Do you think I'm boring?" I asked, half teasing, half afraid of the answer. She glanced at me, smirk tugging at her lips, and kissed me lightly. "You're steady. That's different." But her tone carried something I couldn't name then, something I'd only understand later. At the time, I ignored the unease. I let myself believe in the picture I'd painted, two women building something beautiful together. I convinced myself Rachel's friends didn't matter, that her restlessness was just ambition, not dissatisfaction. But the truth was already there, woven into the little cracks I refused to look at. I was in love with the idea of Rachel as much as the woman herself, the idea that I could be her anchor, that my steadiness would be the very thing she cherished most. I didn't realize it was the thing she would eventually resent. Those first 2 years, though, they felt like everything. We traveled when we could. We stayed up late talking about the future. I kept notebooks filled with sketches of houses we might buy, cities we might live in. She said she wanted adventure, freedom, the whole world at her feet. I wanted her, and that was enough. So I gave my time, my money, my energy. I gave so much I didn't notice how little was coming back. And maybe, deep down, I knew. Maybe that's why every laugh her friends threw at my expense hit harder than it should have. Maybe that's why I clung so tightly, even as my gut whispered that I was holding on to someone who wasn't holding me back. But love makes you blind, and I wanted to believe. So I did. If I could go back, I'd tell myself this: don't mistake being someone's foundation for being their future. Because one day, Rachel would show me exactly what she thought of me. And when she did, it wouldn't be in private. It would be in a room full of people, her voice loud, her laughter sharp. I just didn't know it yet. At first, I brushed it off. The late nights at work, the phone buzzing face down on the table, the distracted look in her eyes when we were together. I told myself it was just stress, that building her consultancy was overwhelming her, that she needed space to breathe, not suspicion breathing down her neck. But the cracks widened. It started small. She'd come home later than usual. We stayed after work for drinks, she'd say casually, shrugging off her jacket. The faint smell of perfume that wasn't hers clung to her hair. I'd ask how it went, and she'd smile vaguely, scrolling her phone instead of answering. Then the nights grew longer, whole evenings where she wouldn't text until 2 in the morning, too drunk to drive home, staying with a friend. The first time I worried about her safety. By the third time, I worried about us. When I brought it up, she rolled her eyes. "Naomi, I'm not doing anything wrong. You're smothering me. Can't I have a life outside of you?" Her tone sliced me open, sharper than the words themselves. I apologized. I backed off. I convinced myself maybe I was being insecure. Maybe my quiet stability wasn't enough for someone like her. Maybe she needed the thrill, the chaos, the whirlwind. Her friends didn't help. They noticed the distance before I admitted it, and they weaponized it. "Rachel deserves excitement," one of them said once, loud enough for me to hear. "Not just Netflix nights and meal prepping." Another chimed in. "She needs someone who can keep up with her energy, not this." The way she gestured at me, dismissive, made my cheeks burn. Rachel didn't defend me. She just laughed, clinking her glass to theirs like I wasn't standing right there. I smiled through it, but inside shame curled tight in my chest. That's when Ethan appeared in our story. At first, just a name. A coworker. Someone she'd tag in Instagram stories, the kind where everyone's leaning too close at a bar, neon lights painting faces pink and blue. "Who's Ethan?" I asked one night, keeping my tone light. "Just a coworker, babe, don't get weird." But he wasn't just anything. He became a constant presence in her stories, in her laughter, in her excuses. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe the woman I loved wouldn't betray me. So I swallowed the unease, told myself I was imagining things. But deep down, I already knew. The distance between us wasn't just emotional, it became physical. Her touch, once casual and constant, evaporated. The way she used to curl against me on the couch, the spontaneous kisses in the kitchen, the warmth of her hand seeking mine. It all dried up, like water evaporating under heat. And when I asked what was wrong, she sighed. "You're so sensitive, Naomi. Not everything is about you. God, can't I just be tired?" I'd retreat, stung. I'd cook dinner for us anyway, waiting for her to join me, only to eat alone while she stayed glued to her phone. My gut screamed louder with each passing week. I remember one night, sitting at our small kitchen table, staring at my untouched food, listening to the muffled sound of her laughter spilling from the bedroom where she was on yet another work call. The clock ticked loudly in the silence. I wanted to storm in, demand answers, force the truth into the light. But instead, I sat there quietly, gripping my fork until my knuckles ached. Because part of me was afraid. Afraid that if I asked, if I confronted, I'd confirm what I already feared, that I was losing her. Rachel's words echoed in my head even when she wasn't home. Safe is boring. That was me, wasn't it? The safe one, the steady one, the predictable one. And maybe she was already slipping away to someone louder, bolder, less afraid of chaos. I started to notice things I couldn't unsee. The way she locked her phone when I walked by, the perfume I didn't recognize on her clothes, the long showers when she came home late, like she was scrubbing away traces of somewhere else. My heart wanted to deny it, but my body knew. The pit in my stomach knew. I told myself I could fix it, that if I just gave her more space, she'd come back. So I stopped asking where she went. I stopped checking when she'd be home. I stopped reminding her to eat, to rest, to call. I became a shadow in my own relationship, tiptoeing around her moods, erasing parts of myself so she'd have no reason to be annoyed. But shadows can't hold love. They can only absorb what little light is left. The night everything shifted started like any other. Rachel said she was going out with coworkers. I nodded, forced a smile, wished her fun. She kissed me lightly, barely touching my lips, and left without looking back. Hours later, I was still awake, scrolling through old photos of us. Her smile in those pictures looked different now, brighter, less forced. Was it me she had grown tired of? Or was it that she had found someone else to light her up? The question gnawed at me until I could hardly breathe. That's when the invitation came, a text from Rachel, casual as ever. Ethan's throwing a party tonight. Just a chill night. Come if you want. The phrasing stung. Come if you want. Like it didn't matter to her whether I showed up or not. Like my presence was optional in my own girlfriend's life. But something inside me told me I needed to go. Not to belong, but to see. To finally face whatever truth was waiting in the shadows. I stood in front of the mirror before leaving, staring at my reflection. I didn't bother with makeup. I didn't bother changing out of my plain sweater and jeans. Because this wasn't about impressing anyone. This was about survival, about ripping the blindfold off, even if it blinded me. When I walked out the door that night, I had no idea how much would change. But I knew one thing with certainty. The cracks in the foundation weren't cracks anymore. They were fractures. And soon, the whole thing would collapse. The air outside Ethan's apartment pulsed with bass before I even stepped inside. I hesitated on the sidewalk, staring at the glow of neon leaking through the windows. For a moment, I thought about turning around, pretending I never got Rachel's text, pretending I could keep living in that fragile bubble of denial. But I walked in. The place was crowded, loud, thick with the smell of alcohol and cheap perfume. Strangers leaned on counters, laughter spilling like broken glass. Most of them looked younger than me. Glossy hair, tight dresses, sneakers so white they had to be new. I moved through them like a ghost, clutching a red plastic cup someone shoved into my hand. I wasn't here to drink. I was here to see. I found her in the kitchen, exactly where I knew she'd be. Rachel. Her laugh cut through the noise, bright and sharp. She was leaning against the counter, a red cup in her hand, her hair falling over one eye. She looked alive in a way she hadn't around me for months. I stayed back, just outside the doorway, partly hidden by the angle of the fridge. She didn't notice me. She was surrounded by two of her friends, Lexi, the one who never liked me, and another woman whose name I didn't remember. They were tipsy, giggling, their cheeks flushed. Rachel tilted her head, eyes gleaming with mischief, and said the words that split me open. Why would I choose Naomi when I can have Ethan and still keep her around for security? She's basically my emotional support dog. Her friends burst into laughter. Lexi slapped the counter, cackling. Girl, you're evil. Rachel grinned, raising her cup like a toast. No, I'm smart. Naomi's loyal, low maintenance, always there. Why give that up when I can have both? My stomach dropped. The sound of her voice saying my name in that tone, mocking, dismissive, made the room tilt. I stared at the floor, willing myself not to collapse. Every muscle in my body screamed to react, to storm in, to scream, to break the glass in her hand just to silence her. But I didn't move. I stood there, rooted to the spot, feeling nausea crawl up my throat. My vision blurred. The laughter in the kitchen felt far away and too close at the same time, like I was underwater. And then I left. No scene, no confrontation, no dramatic exit, just quiet steps through the crowd, down the stairs, out the door. The night air hit me like a slap. I walked fast, almost running, the music still pounding faintly behind me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Text from Rachel, probably asking where I was, pretending nothing had happened. I didn't check. I couldn't. I made it home before her, sat in the dark on the couch, staring at nothing, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. When she stumbled in at 3 a.m., drunk and laughing, she barely noticed me. Crazy night, she mumbled, grabbing a bottle of water. Then she collapsed into bed, makeup smearing the pillow. I stayed on the couch, wide awake, listening to her shallow breathing from the bedroom. And in that moment, something inside me broke cleanly, like glass snapping under pressure. The next morning, I asked. She blinked at me across the kitchen table, hair messy, mascara smudged. What are you even talking about? I repeated her words back to her, every syllable, every laugh. She didn't deny it, she just shrugged. Okay, maybe I said some stuff. I was drunk. Jesus, Naomi, you're seriously going to act like this is some big deal? Some big deal. The way she said it, flat, dismissive, told me everything. She wasn't sorry. She didn't care. In that instant, I realized the woman I thought I loved either never existed or she had disappeared a long time ago. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg her to explain. I just nodded, stood up, and said, "All right, I hear you." Her eyebrows lifted, surprised. I think she expected a scene. She expected me to beg, to argue, to fight for her the way I always had. But instead, I went silent. Not just for minutes, for days. Those next 2 days were surreal. Rachel acted like nothing had happened. She went out for brunch with her friends, posted Instagram stories of mimosas and dogs in handbags, laughed into her phone late at night. Meanwhile, I became invisible in my own apartment, a shadow moving quietly, waiting. And in that silence, I started to see clearly. The truth was simple. She didn't care. I don't know what I had expected. Remorse, maybe, or even guilt. But she was calm, comfortable, like she had finally put me in my place. Like I could now stay there permanently, her safe backup while she lived her double life. But she underestimated me. Because while she was busy pretending nothing had changed, I was preparing to leave. The breaking point came on a Wednesday night. She tossed her keys on the counter, sighing dramatically. Ethan's boss is such a dick. We were at work till 9, and he still made us stay for a debrief. I didn't say anything. She kicked off her shoes, wandered past me, then doubled back. Okay, what's this weird vibe? Are you still mad about the party? Seriously? I looked at her, calm, flat, empty. I'm not mad, I said. I just finally heard you clearly. She rolled her eyes. God, you're so sensitive. I already said I was drunk. I was venting. You act like I cheated or something. I stood, walked past her, and started folding shirts into a backpack, quietly. Her tone shifted fast. What are you doing? Packing for what? For good. She laughed. Actually laughed. You're being ridiculous. You're seriously walking away because I vented to my friends while drunk? I zipped the bag. No, I'm walking away because you meant it, and I finally believe you. She started pacing, arms crossed, smirk plastered on her face. Her defense mechanism. Naomi, grow up. Everyone says dumb stuff. You're not perfect either. You're predictable. You've never understood what I actually need. I slung the backpack over my shoulder. Then this should be a relief. Her smile faltered. Where are you even going to go? You don't have friends. You don't do anything. You're boring. I opened the door, looked back one last time. Maybe, but I'd rather be boring alone than disrespected in my own home. And then I left. No yelling, no begging, no last look, just gone. Walking away wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even satisfying. It was survival. And though I didn't know it then, my silence would become the one thing Rachel couldn't control, the one thing she couldn't stand. The door closed behind me with a soft click. No slammed hinges, no broken glass, no shouting match echoing down the hallway. Just silence. I carried my backpack down the stairs, out into the night, and kept walking. Each step felt heavy and light at the same time, like shedding chains and carrying stones all at once. I didn't have a plan, just a hotel room I booked on my phone while sitting in the parking lot. The glow of the screen lit up my trembling hands, a confirmation number, an address. That was enough. The first night alone, I sat on the edge of a too-stiff mattress in a room that smelled faintly of bleach and air freshener. My backpack lay at my feet, everything I owned in that moment compressed into folded shirts and chargers. I expected to cry, to scream, to collapse under the weight of what I had just done. But I didn't. I just sat there, breathing, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. It wasn't relief, not yet. It was emptiness, a hollow kind of quiet. But it was mine. Over the next week, I made the split official. I called the landlord, told him I was forfeiting my share of the deposit, canceled the utilities in my name, deleted the shared accounts, blocked her number, changed every password. Clean lines, no loose ends. Rachel didn't reach out at first. I think she expected me to come crawling back, like I always did after fights. She underestimated how much damage her words at that party had done, how they had carved into me so deeply there was no bandage, no apology that could hold me together again. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger requires energy, and I had none left to give her. What I wanted was peace. I found a short-term lease about 40 minutes away, in a quieter town where the streets emptied after 9 and the neighbors waved politely but kept to themselves. The apartment was old, creaky floorboards, an outdated kitchen, but the silence wrapped around me like a blanket. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think. At first, it was disorienting. I would wake up and instinctively reach for my phone, expecting a text from Rachel about her schedule or a meme she thought was funny. I'd go to make coffee and automatically grab 2 mugs before realizing one was enough. Little habits, tiny ghosts of a life I had walked away from. Grief doesn't just come from death. Sometimes it comes from realizing the person you loved never really loved you back. I filled the silence with movement. I joined a gym, not for revenge or a glow-up, but because I needed somewhere to put all the restless energy that used to go into holding our relationship together. I ran on treadmills until my legs ached, lifted weights until my arms trembled. I picked up freelance projects after work, small coding gigs that paid little but kept me busy. I reconnected with people I had let drift away. My brother, an old college friend, even my mom, who had tiptoed around Rachel for years. I didn't tell them everything, just enough to let them know I was resurfacing. And I wrote journals filled with raw truths I had been too afraid to admit. I let someone walk over me because I was terrified of being alone. I confused loyalty with self-erasure. I thought loving her enough would make her love me back. The words bled onto the page. They didn't fix me, but they gave shape to the ache. Meanwhile, Rachel started to unravel. It came in whispers at first. Mutual friends texting me out of the blue. Hey, weird question, is Rachel okay? She's been posting some messy stuff lately. Screenshots followed. Instagram stories of sad captions, blurry drinks, vague quotes about heartbreak and betrayal. Then came the news I didn't ask for. Ethan had dumped her. Apparently, she wasn't the only one he was juggling. And at work, rumor had it she'd been written up. Missing deadlines, showing up late, maybe even at risk of being let go. The picture painted itself. Rachel, who once held the center of every room, was losing her grip. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile at her downfall. But I also didn't reach out, not after everything she said. When the messages finally came, I wasn't surprised. New numbers lighting up my phone with texts. Naomi, this is childish. We need to talk. Blocked. I didn't cheat. You're making things up in your head. At least be an adult and answer me. Blocked again. Then sweeter ones. I miss you. You were the best thing in my life. Can we start over? Silence was my only reply. Her words bounced off the wall I had built. They couldn't pierce me anymore, because I had finally learned the one thing she never expected me to, that not responding was a response. The silence was brutal at first. Some mornings, I felt the urge to give in, to send just one message, to hear her voice, if only to remind myself I hadn't imagined our years together. But the longer I stayed quiet, the stronger I felt. It was like a muscle, weak at first, trembling under the weight, but growing sturdier with each repetition. My silence became my revenge, my peace, and the irony was, it drove her crazy. Rachel, who lived for attention, who fed on the validation of everyone around her, couldn't stand being invisible. My absence echoed louder than any argument I could have made. I thought walking away would destroy me. Instead, it rebuilt me. Each day without her was another brick in the foundation of a new life. A life where I wasn't mocked for being steady, where boring meant peace and predictable meant safety. Rachel was slipping and I was climbing. And though I didn't know it yet, the more she fell, the more desperate she would become to drag me back down with her. But I wasn't going back. Not this time. Because the woman who waited around for scraps, the one who let her love be trampled in the name of loyalty, she didn't exist anymore. It started with texts. New numbers lighting up my phone, always the same rhythm. Naomi, this is childish. We need to talk. Blocked. 2 days later, another. I didn't cheat. You're making things up in your head. At least be an adult and answer me. Blocked again. Then came sweetness. Syrup poured over the same sharp edges. I miss you. You were the best thing in my life. Please, just talk to me once. I can explain. But there was nothing to explain. My silence was the only answer she was ever going to get. The messages kept coming. Random bursts of longing, guilt-tripping, even sarcasm. One morning, you'll never find someone who cared the way I did. That afternoon. Fine. Be alone. That's all you're good at. I never typed a single word in return. It wasn't easy. My fingers itched sometimes, hovering over the screen, aching to type something sharp, final, cruel enough to match what she had done to me. But then I'd stop. Because silence was stronger than any sentence I could write. Silence wasn't just absence. It was a mirror. and Rachel hated what it reflected back at her, that she had lost control. Weeks passed. My life steadied. Gym, work, journaling, sleep. Rachel, meanwhile, spiraled. Mutual acquaintances started reaching out. Hey, is everything okay with Rachel? She's been posting some weird stuff. Screenshots filled my inbox. Her Instagram flooded with vague quotes about betrayal, heartbreak, fake people. Pictures of half-empty wine glasses, messy apartments, captions that sounded more like cries than statements. She was unraveling publicly, and I was watching privately, detached. Not gleeful, not vindictive, just distant, like observing weather on the horizon that no longer reached my shore. Then the emails began. An unfamiliar address. Subject line, please read this. It was from her. The email was long, rambling, half apology, half performance. She wrote about how she got caught up in stupid things, how I always made her feel safe, how she didn't realize what she had until it was gone. And then the kicker, Ethan was never serious about me. I thought I was choosing excitement, but he treated me like an option. I was wrong. I see that now. Can we please talk? I closed the tab. I didn't reply. The next day, another email arrived. Subject, just once. I didn't open it. That's when her mother called. I froze when the familiar name lit up my screen. For a second, I almost answered out of reflex. This was the woman who once told me I was the only real partner Rachel had ever brought home. But I let it go to voicemail. Her voice trembled through the recording. Hi, Naomi. I know this is awkward, but Rachel's not doing well. I'm not trying to guilt you. She's hurting. She talks about you all the time. Could you maybe talk to her, even just once? I sat there, phone heavy in my hand, listening to the plea. But I didn't call back. Because what her mother didn't know, or maybe didn't want to admit, was that Rachel didn't want me. She wanted the safety net I had been. She wanted the version of me that tolerated the disrespect, absorbed the chaos, stayed no matter what. That version of me was gone. Her friends tried next. Lexi, the same woman who once laughed when Rachel called me her emotional support dog, sent a message. Hey, Naomi. I know we didn't get along, but Rachel's really struggling. I think she finally gets it. You were good to her. We all see it now. Just thought you should know. I stared at the message, the hypocrisy burning like acid. Now you see it. But I didn't reply. I blocked her instead. Another coworker of Rachel's DM'd me later. You don't know me, but I worked with Rachel. She talks about you like you're the one who got away. Not trying to overstep, but she seems different lately. Quieter. Maybe she's finally grown up. But I wasn't interested in different. I wasn't interested in finally. I was interested in peace. Rachel grew bolder. New numbers again. Long texts about closure, about how I didn't even have to forgive her. She just wanted to tell me her side. Then came the guilt tripping. So that's it? You just erase people like they never existed? I made a mistake and now I'm dead to you? Then rage. You think ignoring me makes you better than me? You were boring and I settled for you. F you, Naomi. I didn't flinch. Her words didn't wound me anymore because I finally saw them for what they were. Desperation. One night, the buzzer to my building went off. I checked the camera feed. Rachel stood outside, hoodie pulled tight, hair tied back, face bare of makeup. She looked small, tired. My chest tightened, not with longing, but with recognition. This was the same woman who once stood tall in the center of every room, laughing, radiant, untouchable. And now here she was, diminished, knocking on my door. She buzzed again and again. I sat on the couch and didn't move. Eventually, she gave up. I heard the building door close. Later, I noticed a folded piece of paper slipped under my door. Her handwriting, messy, smudged with what might have been tears. You always saw the good in me, even when I didn't. I took that for granted. I was selfish, scared, stupid. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'd give anything to be in the same room with you again, even just as a friend. I folded it neatly, slid it into a drawer, and never touched it again. Her final message came days later, a voicemail. Her voice was raw, stripped of performance. I can't believe you're doing this. I was there for you when you were broke and weird and quiet. I made you cool. I introduced you to people, and now you act like you never knew me. You think you're better than me now? You were never better, Naomi. You were just safe. Click. That was the last time I heard her voice. Silence. That was all that was left between us. And it was enough. Because the silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Full of boundaries. Full of dignity. Full of the peace I had been denied for years. Rachel hated it. But me? I thrived in it. A year later, I almost didn't go to the party. It was an engagement celebration for a mutual friend. The kind of awkward overlap you can't really avoid when you've shared years with someone. I debated staying home, pouring a glass of wine, and scrolling through Netflix instead. But my girlfriend insisted. Yes, girlfriend. Her name was Claire, a nurse with a laugh that softened the hardest days. She was steady in ways that felt like a balm, but not like a mirror. She had her own fire, her own patience, her own kindness. She didn't need me to complete her. She chose me to walk beside her. That night, she squeezed my hand and said, "Come on, it'll be fun." So I went. The venue buzzed with warm lights and clinking glasses, chatter spilling out of every corner. I walked in with Claire, her arm looped through mine, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a shadow. And then I saw her. Rachel. She stood near the drinks table, sipping something red and sugary, scanning the crowd like she was searching for someone, anyone, to notice her. Her hair was styled, her dress carefully chosen, but there was a hollowness in her eyes I had never seen before. When her gaze landed on me, her mouth fell open just slightly before she plastered on a smile. That smile I used to fall for. "Naomi," she said, voice pitched too high. "Wow, you look different." Different, she meant alive. I nodded politely. "Hey." My tone was calm, almost casual. Claire slipped her hand into mine, grounding me. I could feel Rachel's eyes flicker to it, linger there, then dart back up. "So, how have you been?" Rachel asked, her smile wobbling. "Good," I said, "really good." Her lips parted, but no words came for a moment. She scanned me like she didn't recognize what she was looking at. Finally, softly, "You look happy." "I am." There was a pause. The room buzzed around us. Music, laughter, the pop of a champagne cork. But between us, there was only silence. Rachel laughed lightly, trying to fill it. "Remember when we used to talk about getting married one day? Crazy, right?" I smiled, not at the memory, but at how far I had come from the person who once dreamed those dreams with her. "Yeah," I said. "I remember. I also remember you saying you didn't need to choose between me and someone else. That you could have him and still keep me around for security." Her smile faltered. She swallowed. "Naomi, I was drunk. I was stupid. You know I didn't mean—" "You did," I said gently. "And that's okay. You made your choice. I just stopped being the woman you thought I was." Her eyes glistened, and for a second I thought she might cry, or scream, or both. "Can we maybe talk? Just the two of us. Catch up. Start over?" I shook my head. "There's nothing to start. That version of me, the one who waited around for scraps, the one who let your friends mock her, the one who kept giving even when you stopped caring, she doesn't exist anymore." Rachel's jaw tightened. Her voice broke. "You're really not ever going to forgive me, are you?" I shrugged. "It's not about forgiveness. It's about peace. And I have it now." I turned, walked back toward the dance floor where Claire was waiting, her smile soft, arms open. As she pulled me close, the music washing over us, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Claire kissed my temple, whispering something about how much she loved this song. I laughed, swaying with her, the weight of the past falling away like dust. For just a second, I glanced back. Rachel was still by the drinks table, clutching her glass like it was a lifeline. Her smile was gone. She stood alone, the way she had once left me, so many times. Only now, no one was coming to pick her up. That night, as Claire and I left the party hand in hand, I realized something important. Karma doesn't always arrive like lightning. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just the echo of silence, growing louder in the absence of what someone once took for granted. Rachel's karma was standing by that table, empty-handed, while I walked away with peace.